Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well today. And I think it's about time. It's been more than a week, and the team has made a lot of signings in this area. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that now is a good time to start talking about the Seattle Seahawks UDFA signings. So I believe that as of right now, the Seahawks have made more UDFA signings than any other team, and it's been more than a week, so they are probably pretty much done. So I think now is a good time to do an initial roundup of the guys that we picked up. And this video is just going to be kind of briefly going over them. I'm going to very briefly describe what they did last season or the season before to give an idea of what might be appealing about them. But I'm not going to go super in depth with all these guys. What's probably going to happen is a couple weeks from now, I'm going to go super in depth on some of these guys. The guys who I actually think have a chance of making the team in some capacity. A lot of these guys are just here for training camp 99.5% of the time. They have maybe a 0.5% chance of making the active roster, and they have maybe a 0.5% chance of making the practice squad, something like that. And what they're really trying to do is have a positive experience in a real NFL training camp and have a opportunity to maybe get a call later if a bunch of players get hurt. Like, if they have a good camp with the Seahawks, of course they get released before the season starts, but hey, maybe a bunch of players get hurt and they're like, hey, remember that guy from camp? Let's give him a call. Let's bring him in here for a week or two while we get these guys back from injury because we liked what we saw from them in camp. Or maybe people get hurt on the practice squad, or maybe practice squad guys have to get called up. Okay, let's go get this guy, put him on the practice squad for a week, give him, a check for a week, and he gets to expose himself to our organization a little bit more. Couple of these guys a little bit better than that, and I will talk at length about those guys in the near future, the guys who I think actually have a chance of making this team in some capacity immediately, but that's not all these guys, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on everybody here. All right, so let's start with the quarterback we picked up, Holton Ahlers from East Carolina. He had a good season last year, 3,700 yards, 67% completion, 28 touchdowns, 5 picks. Ran for almost 200 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's got NFL size. Does actually have an NFL arm. Obviously playing weaker competition. But this is not necessarily a guy you can completely dismiss. I do suspect that we're going to bring in a quarterback more of the Sean Mannion type. Somebody with actually a little bit of NFL experience. Somebody with a little bit of NFL reps. More so than a UDFA rookie. But this guy has something. Okay. Next up, we have a running back. We have a couple running backs, actually. Marcus Cooper from Incarnate Word. That's where Cam Ward came from, the WSU quarterback. So they're getting some guys out there in the NFL. 13 games for him last year, 1,436 yards, 12 touchdowns, very productive. 31 catches as well, and almost 300 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. So very productive year for Incarnate Word. 2 fumbles, but he's tiny. The guy is 5'7.5". He's like a tiny bit taller than Darren Sproles and Deuce Vaughn, I guess. So he's really small. Not that fast either. 4.5 140 is okay. 4.3 120 yard split. 7.163 cone. So probably somebody who leans heavily on being able to play weaker competition at a place like Incarnate Word. Okay. Another running back we got was Chris Smith of Louisiana. He played in only 11 games last year. Actually did not have his best season in 2022. Still 624 yards, though. 3 touchdowns, 150 yards receiving, 21 catches, about 2 catches a game. Another guy who's kind of small, 5'8.5", 194 pounds. Bigger than Cooper, of course. Still kind of small. Decent speed, 4.49, 4.44, 20-yard shuttle, 7.2, 3 cone. Not great testing. So I don't see a whole lot of NFL potential here, but he's in for camp for the time being. Then we have Griffin Hebert of Louisiana Tech. He's a tight end, but in the NFL, he's probably more of a fullback because he's so short. 9 games last year, he gave you 23 catches for 430 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's actually a really good athlete for a fullback. That's the thing that's interesting here. If he does play fullback in the NFL, which I think makes sense, 6'1", 239 pounds, he'd be one of the faster and more athletic fullbacks in the league. Again, I don't think there's any room for him on this team because of the fact that we already have a fullback, but maybe there's room for him on the practice squad as somebody who can be like a fullback tight end tweener, like maybe an H-back like a Jacob Hollister. Matt Landers, now this one's interesting, and we're going to have to take some time to talk about this guy at length in the future. Arkansas receiver, so he's playing with KJ Jefferson, who, fun player, but not the most accurate quarterback. So his numbers have to be kind of graded on a curve here, and he had good numbers. 47 catches, 900 yards, 8 touchdowns in 13 games. This guy is big, 6'4", 200 pounds. He's fast, 4.37 40, 151 10-yard split, and he's a pretty good athlete too. 37-inch vert, 10-foot 10-inch broad. This guy has something in the trunk. Matt Landers, I'll talk more about him in the future for sure. This guy has a shot. Okay, next receiver, another guy who a lot of people are kind of amped up on. It's Jake Bobo. And Jake Bobo, UCLA Bruin, it was his first year at UCLA last year. He had a really nice year with them. 57 catches and 817 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's big, 6'4", 206 pounds, 32.25-inch arms, 10-inch hands, so he's got the size. He would basically be a big slot in the NFL. If he became anything in the NFL, he would be a big slot. His 20-yard shuttle and 3-cone were pretty good too. His jumps were passable. They were okay. The problem with Bobo is his speed. He's very, very slow. I believe at his pro day, he actually ran a 40 time that was somewhere around 5 seconds. He is a slug compared to other receivers. However, at a private workout that I found, he ran what was estimated to be a 4.67. That's a little bit better. Still slow, but might be workable because he is big and does do some positive things as a big slot. So Jake Bobo has a chance, I'm going to say, and we'll talk more about him later. Another receiver we picked up from the Pac-12 was Tyjon Lindsey of Oregon State. Beaver, last year, 317 receiving yards, 30 catches, couple of runs as well, one rushing touchdown. Smaller guy, 5'8", 171 pounds, basically that like Tutu Atwell size, barely under 30-inch arms. Ran a 4.47 40, not bad. Pretty good jumps, 39-inch vert, 10-foot 8-inch broad. Good 20-yard shuttle and good 3-cone, but mostly he's just kind of fast and quick, but he's also really small. And he didn't even produce that much in college, so I don't know if there's a ton here. Another receiver, and this is a guy who was actually very productive last year with quarterback Holton Allers, who we picked up. So maybe we'll get a East Carolina connection going on the practice squad. I guess that's on the table. C.J. Johnson. Last year had 67 catches, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, good PFF grade. Didn't find a lot of his testing numbers, but he's actually got good size, 222 pounds, 6'2", ran a 4.59 40, so he's not very fast, but he was productive, and he's got size, like NFL size. Like, there might be something here. There might be a little something here. I kind of like this set of receivers that we brought in here. Between these guys, there should be something NFL-worthy here. John Hall would be the other receiver that we brought in. I couldn't find so much on. He was not productive last year. He had 1 catch a game on average, 11 catches in 10 games. Good size, almost 6'4", 195 pounds, 4.59 40, 4.44 20-yard shuttle. So we got some interesting receivers here for sure. I think John Hall's probably the least interesting of the bunch, but I feel like at least one of these 5 guys will make the active roster, and probably one of them will end up on the practice squad. Okay, tight end now, and this is an actual tight end. It's Noah Gindorf of North Dakota State. This was one of the first, if not the first, UDFAs we picked up. Now, 2022, he only played 3 games, so I didn't put up his numbers from there. 2021, he gave you 17 catches for about 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in 12 games. Still not super productive, but the thing to understand about Gindorf is that he's a big guy. He's got that Darnell Washington size, 6'6", 263 pounds, 33 and an 1/8-inch arms, 10-inch hands, so he's big. Now, he's also slow, 4.89 40. The 32-inch vert is also not particularly good, but not unexpected for a guy of this size. Clearly, he's a blocking tight end first and foremost, and maybe he has some value there. I'm not in love with his odds of being able to make the roster, but Noah Gindorf brings some interesting things to the table with his size. The other tight end that we picked up in UDFA is not really a tight end to me, but he did play a little bit as it. It's Kendall Randolph of Alabama. So he's, playing for a legitimate school. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. So, yeah, he's not really a tight end so much as he is an offensive lineman, a guard, 5'3", 40, 33-inch arms, 23 bench press reps, had a good PFF grade last year. Mostly they used him as an eligible tackle on short yardage plays. He would be like the sixth offensive lineman. So he's lining up as a tight end, but he's a guard who occasionally catches a pass more than anything. And if he has any role in the NFL, I imagine that's also what he would be doing. Okay, now we roll on towards the defense here, and we're going to start off with a very interesting guy that we will talk about at length in the near future. It's Robert Cooper of Florida State, nose tackle. Interesting case here. So Robert Cooper seemed to play a lot more in 2021 than he did in 2022. So I don't know what happened. He played in every game last year, only had 19 tackles and 1 tackle for loss, and wasn't on the field as much. The previous year, he played the full season and did a lot more. So I don't know what happened there. I also don't know what happened with him at his pro day / combine when he weighed in at less than 310 pounds. Because when he was playing, he looked like he weighed probably about 340. And he was listed by his college at like 335 at least. So I don't know if he lost a ton of weight to test better. I couldn't find his testing numbers, by the way. But assuming that he bulks back up to play at a heavy weight in the NFL, this is a nose tackle. This is the kind of guy you want as a nose tackle in the NFL, and he really might be able to find playing time on this team right now because other than Monet, we don't have a nose tackle. Now, his arms are a little short, but the question is, can he slot in and play like 8 to 10 snaps a game? Probably. Again, this is a guy I'm going to dive deeper into down the line, but Robert Cooper has a chance to, I would say, make the 53-man roster. Okay, next up, another very exciting guy. This guy had a great career at San Diego State, Jonah Tavai, defensive lineman. He's basically the perfect size for a 3-4 end, which is what I believe he would do here, or if you prefer 4-3 nomenclature, 3-tech. He was very productive basically his whole career, but last year was his best year. He gave you 59 tackles, 14 for loss, and 10.5 sacks. So he basically averaged more than tackle for loss a game. Again, 6'0", 290, 5'06", 40, 29 bench press reps, so he's got good strength. And San Diego State, they're obviously not a big school, but they're not a tiny school either. They're not Incarnate Word. So he's doing some stuff right here. And a lot of people thought Jonah Tavai was going to get drafted in the very late rounds of the draft. And this guy is another guy who I believe has a real chance to make this roster. Effiani Maije from Rutgers, defensive tackle. Another guy who would probably be a 3-4 end or a 4-3-3 tech. Last year gave you 41 tackles, 3 for loss, 2 sacks, a pass deflection, a forced fumble. He's about the same size as Tavai. Got pretty long arms, 32 and 5/8 inches, 4'9", 40, 25 bench press reps. So he might kind of slot in the same way. He's obviously not as exciting as Tavai because he doesn't put up the big splash numbers. But he's playing for a legitimate school. Again, Rutgers. He's not playing for Tennessee Chattanooga. He's not playing for some Division III school. No, this is real. The stuff he did out there last year was real. So may have an eye on him going forward. Jordan Ferguson from Middle Tennessee State, another defensive lineman. Last year had 68 tackles, including 17 for loss. Very productive in the backfield. 13 games, 9 sacks, 1 pick, 6 passes defense. So crazy productive last year for Middle Tennessee State. Little bit of a tweener with his size. He weighed in at about 270 at his pro day. So to me, I look at 270 and I say he needs to add a little bit of weight to be a 3-tech / defensive end, or he needs to lose weight and become an edge rusher. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's got good measurables otherwise. His arms are long, his hands are big. He did good bench press reps, so maybe something here, even though he's playing against weaker competition. MJ Anderson from Iowa State. Last year, pretty decent season. 9 tackles for loss, 37 tackles total, 12 games, 3.5 sacks. Another guy who came in at about 270, 6 foot 2.5. Really long arms, though. Very notable. 33 and 3/4 inch arms, 33-inch vert. Okay for a player of his size. A little bit of a tweener, but give him a chance. And then we move on to our linebackers. Patrick O'Connell of Montana might be the most interesting linebacker we brought in. He gave you 73 tackles in 11 games last year, 14 for loss, a lot of work in the backfield, 8 sacks as a blitzer, 2 interceptions, very productive. Kind of, I guess you could call him a little undersized, though. 6'1", 221 pounds. That's too small for an inside linebacker, especially in a 3-4. 4.65 40. Good vertical, though, 38.5 inches. Pretty good 20-yard shuttle. Three cone was nice. So he's fast. Or, excuse me, he's quick, but he's not really fast. Although I wouldn't call him slow either. And I did read something that apparently he felt like he can run a 40 time a lot faster than he did. He didn't like his 40. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's a little faster than this. But he is undersized. So undersized, I almost wonder if he might be a better safety, like a box safety in the NFL. But good production for Montana last year, and Montana's churned out a couple notable linebackers recently, so you got to give him a chance. Another linebacker here would be Michael Ayers of Ashland. Now, that's a small college, but he was productive for that small college last year. 12 games, 81 tackles, 10.5 for loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, a pick, 8 passes defensed. Another guy who's a little bit small, 6'1.5", 223 pounds. A little bit faster, though. Got some nice speed, 4.59 40, 38-inch vert, 10'5" broad. Good 3-cone and good 20-yard shuttle, though, mostly. So testing numbers were okay. The production is notable. It's just a question of, can he raise his game to match the needs of playing in the NFL compared to a place like Ashland? I think they're the Eagles or something like that. Linebacker Cam Bright, local guy from Washington, although he only spent a year at Washington. 13 games, 60 tackles, 4.5 for loss, 2.5 sacks, and a pick. Another small guy. Not even 220 pounds when he measured in. 6 feet tall. Again, I wonder if these guys end up playing safety. 32.5-inch arms, 4.59 40, 35.5-inch vert, 10'7" broad. Testing numbers were decent overall. The main thing that stood out was his crazy bench press, but overall, hard to get too excited about a linebacker who's this small. Almost needs to lose weight and become a safety, like I said. Then you've got Lamont Bishop of Oklahoma State, another linebacker, didn't play a ton last year, only 29 tackles in 13 games. Bigger guy, he's 236 pounds, so he has linebacker size, and he doesn't sacrifice a ton in the speed category, 4.6 40, but not very explosive an athlete, as you can see by his jumping numbers. So, again, looks more like a camp guy to me. Now we move on to our defensive backs here. There are some fun guys here. We got Lance Boykin of Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina was a school that I actually had my eye on quite a bit last year, but not really much for Lance Boykin. He did have a good year. 58 tackles in 11 games, 2 for loss, a sack, 2 interceptions, 8 passes defense. And he's got legitimate NFL size, 6'2", 200 pounds, long arms, relatively long arms, 32 3/8. Had a decent broad jump for a cornerback, 13 bench press reps. He's probably the guy who I think has the best chance of making the practice squad of the defensive backs. Cornerbacks. James Campbell of Montana State comes in next. 13 games, 32 tackles, so not a ton of reps last year, but he did get 2 picks. Almost 6 feet tall, 183 pounds, so a little bit smaller. 4.45 40 with his short arms. I wonder if he might be a nickel cornerback in the NFL, if anything. Pretty good jumps, pretty explosive an athlete, though, and a really impressive 20-yard shuttle and 3-cone for a guy of this draft pedigree, approximately. Then we have Archon Bush, a running mate of Kobe Bryant at Cincinnati, along with Sauce Gardner. Last year played 13 games, 34 tackles, 2 picks, 5 passes defensed. 6 feet tall, but only 187 pounds. Probably needs to put on weight. He's got short arms, not very fast, not very quick, not very explosive. So Archon Bush overall, fun story. Fun to have him around because he is a Cincinnati guy. But these testing numbers tell me there's not much here. Arms too short, not quick enough, not fast enough. I don't know. Maybe he moves to safety in the NFL or something like that. We do have another cornerback from Montana State here. It's Ty Okada. So we got 2 of them. This guy was more productive last year. 71 tackles, 6 for loss, 3 sacks, 1 pick, 8 passes defensed. A little bit on the smaller side, 5'11", 193 pounds, 31-inch arms. Again, given the fact that doesn't measure up too well, maybe he'll be a slot corner. He's not super fast, 4.47, but he was very explosive with his jumps. A 40.5-inch vert, 10'9" broad, 6'8", 5'3" cone, 3.98 20-yard shuttle. That's actually really good testing numbers on that end. So maybe there's something here. I just don't know if he'll be able to play outside corner in the NFL. All right, some safeties. We got Christian Young of Arizona. He had 76 tackles in 12 games, 6.5 for loss, half a sack, 2 passes defensed. He's big. He's actually bigger than some of the linebackers we brought in. 6'1", 228 pounds, 4.6 40, 31 1/4 inch arms. So I don't know exactly what we're planning to do there, but it's kind of weird that one of the safeties we brought in is actually notably bigger than some of the linebackers. Another safety was Mo Osling III from UCLA, another Pac-12 guy. Very productive tackling last year, 89 tackles, but not a heck of a lot else. So you could call him a box safety, I guess. 6'1", 195 pounds, 32 and 3/8 inch arms, 4'5'9", 40. Jumps kind of low. The shuttle and three cone were okay-ish. Um, so not a ton I'm excited about there. Probably a pretty narrow use case on him. Jonathan Sutherland of Penn State, interesting as a special teamer only, really. He didn't play a ton on defense last year. He played some, but mostly he was their ace special teamer, and he was considered one of the better special teamers in the country. Had a pretty good 40 time 4.55. Had some decent numbers, but mostly a special teamer. And we got Chris Stoll, the winner of the Patrick Manley Award for best long snapper in the country. So I guess we can get excited about that. We do need a long snapper, and maybe we want to go cheap there instead of spending extra money on a veteran like shoot, I can't even remember the name of the guy we had last year. I'm completely spacing out on our long snapper from last year. But both those guys would be more expensive than Chris Stoll, so having a guy like Chris Stoll around might be nice if you want to save a buck or two, which, hey, we do need to do. All right, so that's every UDFA the Seahawks signed. I didn't see any information about signing bonuses. I think maybe a couple of them had to have gotten at least some kind of signing bonus. But overall, it seems like we decided to not dedicate a bunch of guaranteed money here. So later today, I'm probably going to do a video about our camp invites, which we had quite a few of those as well. Going to talk about the guys we're inviting into camp. And understand those guys have even a worse chance of making the team in 2023 than the guys who actually got UDFA contracts. But still worth looking at. And like I said, down the line, I'm going to do a deep dive into some of the UDFAs who I actually think have a chance of making the team in some capacity. So see you guys soon. Let me know what you think of these guys. Is there anybody here that you really like personally that you would like to see me go deeper on that a lot of people might not be so aware of? Let me know what you think, but this is my initial UDFA roundup for the Seahawks. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Another video coming later today where I look at camp invites, but that's what I got right now. See you guys soon.